This is Caring for Kids on News Talk 760 WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. And here's your host, President and CEO of the Children's Foundation, Larry Burns.
Thanks, Mark. Welcome to Caring for Kids September edition. I'm Larry Burns, your host. Tonight we have a great episode featuring some very special guests, as always. We're making strides in advancing the health and wellness of children and their families. Tonight, all in studio will be Tim McCormick of Michigan Elite 25 and U of M and NBA fame, Lori Ward of figure skating in Detroit, and the Foundation's newest member of the team, David Lochner. It's all coming up next on Caring for Kids, here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everyone. Larry Burns here for Caring for Kids September edition. Our first guest in the studio is Tim McCormick. Tim grew up in Clarkston, Michigan, and attended the University of Michigan, where he was a key member of the basketball team and indeed was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2006. After graduation from U of M, Tim was drafted by Cleveland in the NBA as the 12th pick in the 1984 draft and played for 10 years, a whole decade, in the NBA. During his time in the NBA, Tim played for the Seattle Supersonics, Philadelphia 76ers, New Jersey Nets, Houston Rockets, and the New York Knicks. For the last 26 years, Tim has worked for the National Basketball Players Association and is currently the Senior Regional Director of Player Programs. Tim is also the co-founder, along with Mike Dietz, of the Michigan Elite 25 Youth Basketball Program for elite high school players from across the state of Michigan. Tim, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thanks, Larry. That's a lot of teams, isn't it?
That's a lot of teams. And
I once had somebody come up and say, well, did nobody want you? And
that's
I said,
not true.
Quite the opposite. Everybody did.
Everybody wanted you.
Yeah, you got to have an optimistic viewpoint.
The only teams missing is the Pistons.
I know. That would have been a dream. But the fact that I can work with them through broadcasting. I do the pregame, postgame, and halftime, about half of those games. So that's the next best thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it keeps you in town, and we're delighted about that. So you had a remarkable basketball career at U of M, and then the NBA for 10 years, which is a long time to play in the NBA. It's tough. But what are some of the more important life lessons you learned along the way, either at U of M or in the NBA, that has stuck with you even now?
Larry, I learned so many valuable lessons every step of the way about goal setting. My father really encouraged me to set goals, set them high, set that North Star goal when I was young. I learned about hard work. My parents encouraged me to set a game plan and do it every single day. It didn't matter if it's 100 degrees in the summer or a foot of snow in the winter. Every day you do your game plan. I learned about resilience and perseverance during my career. I had 10 knee surgeries.
10?
10. And so I became really good at rehab. But I also learned that every opportunity that you get, whether it's good or bad, you can grow from. So those are some of the key elements that I learned. I think sports is an amazing conduit for young people that are trying to figure things out. You do learn the hard work and the perseverance, but you also learn friendship and teamwork and leadership and stick-to-itiveness. So there's a lot of really important lessons you can learn through sports.
Absolutely, and you mentioned resilience. We hear about that almost every day in our journey at the foundation, that for whatever reason, youngsters don't have the resilience that maybe our generation had. And life can be tough, particularly for underserved kids. And so that resilience factor is really something that we're trying to support programmatically.
Larry, I think back to my favorite memories as a child. We had a gang of kids. We met in the morning. We played baseball and then football, then basketball. Then we played tag, and then we went to somebody's house and had lunch. And then we did the same thing the rest of the day. And what you do in those situations through sports is you make your own teams, right, and you resolve your own conflicts, and you might battle, but at the end of the day, you're still friends, and that's a great connector with sports is learning how to get along, how to be a leader, how to be a teammate.
Right, exactly. And so we're talking with Tim McCormick of U of M fame and the NBA, and so we talked about some lessons, life lessons that you still think about and live your life today. How about mentors? We at the Children's Foundation are big proponents and supporters of programs like yours that provide mentorship. And so who were some of the most important mentors, besides your mom and dad, no doubt, in your life, particularly in your early years?
Well, I think back to some of my teachers, my coaches, throughout my career at Michigan in the NBA. I was surrounded by guys like Pat Riley. Pat Riley was my coach with the Knicks.
Okay.
I spent some time with Bobby Knight as an alternate on the U.S. Olympic team. But I cannot talk about leaders without focusing on my parents. They constantly nudged me forward, and when I went left or right instead of straight, they corrected me. Mm-hmm. They held me accountable with my academics. They had rules. They asked me about my basketball game plan every single day. And it was something simple. I knew my dad was going to pull in the driveway at 6 o'clock, and I knew he was going to say, "Did you take your 100 shots today? Did you do your ball handling drills? Did you run 3 times around the block to get in better shape?" He was always holding me accountable, and those lessons have stuck with me throughout.
Excellent. And so I want to ask you about the Knicks. So did you have a chance to meet, I went to Austin Catholic Prep, did you have a chance to meet Dave DeBusschere when you were with the Knicks or in the NBA?
I did, and I was keenly aware of his legacy in the state of Michigan,
Right.
Detroit. He went to Austin.
Right.
My mom
State
and dad,
championship.
no doubt, baseball pitcher.
Right.
And so when I was growing up, I was falling in love with the game right when the Knicks were a dominant team, and
Right.
so meeting him was really important, and something I'm really proud of. I just finished my master's degree.
Wow! Congratulations!
And so as a member of the Retired Players Association, I applied for the Dave DeBusschere Scholarship.
Really?
Yes, and so Dave DeBusschere has had a significant impact on my life.
I'm so glad I asked you. The famed White Legion of Austin Catholic Friars. So I miss those days. Now, tell us about the Elite 25. I mentioned in our introduction, we're talking with Tim McCormick, and how Elite 25, how it evolved, what exactly it is, and how it's evolving now.
Well, Larry, I think back on my life in sports and business, and I've been so benefited by great mentors and coaches and leaders. And about 10 years ago, my partner Mike Dietz and I were sitting at a game watching our sons play.
Right.
He played at Brother Rice. He played in the Catholic League, CYO upbringing like me. And we started talking about the Top 100 camp, which is a camp that I run for the top 100 high school players from across the nation.
Across the nation.
Yes,
Okay.
There's a real emphasis on education and leadership and teamwork. And so we said, we remember back when we were growing up, there were 30, 35 players from the state of Michigan in the NBA, and those numbers have dwindled greatly. And we said, why don't we create an event in Michigan for the best basketball players, and we can go ahead and try to change the culture in the state of Michigan. Well, we just finished our 7th year of the Michigan Elite 25. We target the best 25 freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors from across the state. And we obviously use the hook of basketball to get them in the gym and to teach them fundamental skills. But the most important lessons are some of the things we learned as young boys: the handshake, the look in the eyes, the responsibility of when you walk into school, you're a good player and people respect athletes.
Right. They know who you are.
They do.
They look up to you.
And we encourage our players, when you walk through the hall, you show respect to teachers, administrators, the younger kids that might get a little bit bullied, the younger kids that look up to you as an athlete. You don't accept any bullying in your school. Maybe at the lunch table you sit down and you call somebody that you don't know. Make a new friend, or maybe somebody that is on the outside looking in. Help them out. We talk about academic excellence. We talk about the importance of goal setting for the future. And while these kids love basketball, they're immensely talented. They love to compete.
Right.
The most important lessons that we want are to become a leader in your community and set those goals. So someday you can be a coach. You can be a strong father figure. You can be a captain of business and an entrepreneur. And so there's a lot more to it than just basketball.
Yeah. Well, and I was introduced to Division I basketball when I was at the University of Toledo, and my very good friend Todd Kowalczyk, who is their head coach, who I believe you know, Todd.
I do, absolutely.
And Todd very much believes in recruiting the individual about the person versus just the basketball skills. And so I learned a lot about what that means in putting together a team that will have cohesiveness and do the right thing. So...
Yeah, I like Coach Kowalczyk too. My son Kellen played at Western Michigan in the MAC and was recruited by Todd, and I loved their campus, and I love his vision, and he does recruit really good kids.
Right, so shout out to Todd Kowalczyk and the Rockets. And so you now have a partnership with the Children's Foundation, so basketball and the Children's Foundation, what's the connection?
Well, we're thrilled. We love...
So are we.
We think there's great synergy between the Children's Foundation and the Michigan Elite 25. And our goal is to be able to create events for younger kids, middle school kids, because quite frankly, sometimes when you're meeting high school kids, they are very far along in the process. Right. They're already receiving college scholarship offers and so on. So we just completed with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Flint, we had a middle school program. And the kids love basketball, and it was fun because a lot of them have no clue about basketball. It's just not something they do.
So these are not elite players?
No. We're just reaching kids, boys and girls. There's no charge for any of our basketball camps. And we spent time in the classroom having fun activities. We talked to them about, the importance of being a good teammate. And it's funny, Larry, because we teach them the handshake and the eye contact and to listen closely when you introduce yourself and ask good questions. And by the end of the day, these kids are coming up like they have a new toy that they want to try out. They want to shake everybody's hands and
look you in the eye.
But it's about accountability. And I believe very strong in the term of meritocracy, that in life you get what you deserve. And if you work hard on your skills, if you're a good person, if you're authentic and you love your city and your school and your family and you set some really good goals, you can do amazing things. And we're looking to expand. We're planning on going to Saginaw for another camp and to Grand Rapids in November. So we have a great vision, and I think that it can do nothing but grow.
Yeah, and so taking the concept of the Elite 25 and bringing that down to younger kids about life lessons, about skills that are about personal growth and branding, are exactly what we found very attractive about our grant to you, so that we're impacting kids of all socioeconomic backgrounds, particularly kids, though, that are underserved, and providing them these mentors and these skills so that they stay on the right path as they go through life.
Yeah, Larry, we're immensely grateful and proud of the affiliation and long-term. What we want to try to teach the kids is we don't care if you play basketball. That's not the most important thing. But everybody has a unique skill set or a talent or a drive or a desire that they can carve out their own niche. We ask them if it's music or art or they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or anything.
Right.
Identify what you love and then chase it with passion, and don't let anybody stop you. and we think that's a recipe for a really sound future for these kids.
Yeah, and it also allowed us, as we expand our reach in the state, as you mentioned, to get into Flint and then eventually do something with you in Grand Rapids and then expand that. So that's strategic for us as well. So, Tim, we look forward to having a long partnership with you. I admire your basketball career and admire your personal career even more. So it's a pleasure to have you on Caring for Kids.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for your support.
Great. It's our pleasure. And coming up next, we're going to hear from Lori Ward about the great work of figure skating in Detroit when Caring for Kids continues right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR, presented by the Children's Foundation.
Welcome back, everyone. In the studio is Lori Ward. Lori is a lifelong Detroiter and current leader of figure skating in Detroit. Lori spent 20 years in the public and charter school systems as a teacher, a peer mentor, and school principal. Lori has also established partnerships for the well-known Pretty Brown Girls Incorporated, an after-school program. Lori is a proud wife and mother. Her passion to empower, educate, motivate, and build leadership capacity in girls of color is a lifetime journey she is committed to. So, Lori, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah, and so for our listeners who may not be familiar with figure skating in Detroit, tell us about the program and how figure skating is used to help girls transform their lives at a young age.
Sure. So figure skating in Detroit is the first and only branch off of figure skating in Harlem, which has had 23 successful years working and empowering girls. And so figure skating in Detroit also follows that same model, where we work with our girls. We combine education with the grace and discipline of figure skating to help them be champions on and off the ice.
Wonderful. And what are the age groups or the ranges in figure skating in Detroit?
So we start enrolling our girls at age 6, and once they're in, they stay with us until they're 18, at that time graduating from high school and moving on to post-secondary success.
Okay, and with the popularity now of young girls and young women playing hockey, have any of the kids moved on to hockey or anything once they learn how to skate?
No, but really it's the flip. I have some girls that enroll in our program that have had hockey lessons.
Okay.
Or hockey players. It's quite a difference in the way it works with wearing hockey skates versus the
hockey skates
figure
and
skate.
equipment.
Yeah.
I was just curious. So you have more than 20 years of experience in public and charter schools, as I mentioned, as a teacher and a mentor. So what led you to figure skating, and was it the Harlem program, or what was your path?
So when I was an educator, I always found myself working with girls specifically, especially when I became a school leader, a building leader. I had people coming in with all kinds of resources for boys or for, kids at risk. The girls were often forgotten. It seemed as if the notion was, the girls are okay. They're coming to school. Their attendance is pretty good. Their grades are okay or either outstanding. But there wasn't enough to build into them to really help them with that confidence and self-esteem that they need, really, whether they're getting all A's or whether they're struggling academically. Girls need that support. And so I always found myself trying to craft or create something special for them. So once I was done as a principal of the last school that I led, this came across my lap. I saw the advertisement for it. They advertised it and announced it at the tree lighting in 2016.
Okay.
And so I was blown away. So I actually started as the program director before I moved into the executive director position.
Excellent. We're talking with Lori Ward, who is the executive director of figure skating in Detroit. You are now one of the grantees of the Children's Foundation.
Yes.
So figure skating and the Children's Foundation, and what's the connection there? And tell our listeners about the program that the foundation's supporting.
So Children's Foundation and figure skating in Detroit equals life-changing for me. And for our girls especially, we talk about fitness and nutrition, which is one of our solid pillars of our program. So for our after-school program, which is called I Can Excel, the Children's Foundation support is going to help us beef up that fitness and nutrition program. Our program is called Go Fit, which stands for Girls Off Ice Investment Training. And so with that, we're able to really work with our girls, not only with the physical activity, which is great, but also nutrition and having really key conversations with girls about that, about, what you're putting in your body, about your lifestyle. Yeah. And so, with Children's Foundation support, we're really able to enhance that and really do some great things with our girls this year in the after-school program.
That's awesome, because one of our focus areas is nutrition and wellness. And so the food education about what young people and all people need to consider when they eat food and stuff, and so that's an important element of what we're trying to do, as well as the physical fitness that you do as well.
Absolutely.
With the grant. And
Absolutely.
So as the program expands, how many girls now do you have approximately?
So we will be enrolling 70 girls this year.
Girls.
Yes, we started with 50 year one, year two we added 10 more, and so now we will have about 70, and we usually end up with a waiting list, which is great. There's a demand for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And where actually does it take place, so people know?
Yes, so we're with our girls 4 days a week out of 2 different sites.
Okay.
So for the academic site, we're at Bates Academy, which is a premier Detroit public school. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're at the Jack Adams Memorial Rink out of the Adams-Butzel Complex.
Okay.
Both on the northwest side of Detroit. So we get 4 wonderful days with our girls to, really push that academic and leadership. And then the other 2 days, they're on the ice and they're doing fitness and, getting those bodies moving. So
yeah, I saw the video that Christina from our team did, and it was... It was not only wonderful to see, but it was even better to hear from some of the young ladies, as well as yourself, about what it means to the youngsters to be part of the program. So
it's really life-changing.
It is life-changing. And earlier in the show, we had Tim McCormick on talking about how he uses basketball to do similar things.
I know Tim McCormick.
He's doing great work with the Elite 25, expanding that into youngsters that aren't elite basketball players, but using basketball like you use skating as a way to draw in youngsters, both, in his case, both boys and girls. And we just made a grant to them as well.
Wonderful. And that's just it. Figure skating is the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's the vehicle that attracts our girls. And then once we get them, we're able to really expand their minds and really help them, dream big. Our summer camp program is called Dreaming with Eyes Wide Open. So they're able to really dream, and it's limitless. Kids come to us, they're fearless when they're young, and we just want to help cultivate those. And so it's really an awesome opportunity to be with our girls.
Wonderful. And I have to believe that anytime there's an Olympics, a Winter Olympics with skating, that's got to sort of increase the popularity of youngsters wanting to join your program. I would just
Absolutely.
think so.
Just as January when the National Skating Championships were here.
We're here in Detroit.
It was awesome exposure. Our girls also got an opportunity to actually perform the closing ceremonies. It was a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, again, we're talking with Lori Ward, who is the Executive Director of figure skating in Detroit. And so where do you see figure skating in Detroit in let's say 5 years? You're up to 75 youngsters now. Where do you go from here?
It's a great question. I often talk with our founder and CEO, Sharon Cohen, about just that. And she always tells me, Lori, we were in year 3 or 4. We were nowhere near where you guys are in Detroit, and that's because of their support. And so, in about 5 years, I want to be able to touch more girls, more lives, and when we touch them, we touch their families, because this fitness, nutrition, we're planning on doing things with the family as well, because if we're trying to change their lives, we have to change mindsets.
Yes.
So we'll be doing that. But I see expanding, touching more girls, being able to have our own building, and to really, expand what we're doing with them beyond 4 days a week, doing some things on the weekends with tutoring, and for that, building up that academic piece, as I stated. Traveling abroad, which would be awesome. Our sisters in Harlem, at Figure Skating Harlem, they're going to Africa. So we hope to be able to get there as well one day, to be able to travel and really show the girls, this is a big world.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting, too, to track in essence, the alumni of figure skating in Detroit, to see how they do in college and see how they do in their life, because that will, I'm sure, be validation that the program is working and you're building successful lives for youngsters. Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, because at Figure Skating in Harlem, that's exactly what's happening. They have girls that started at 6 that are now in college, they come back and work there as coaches or teachers. And so that definitely is validation, and we will hope to have that same success.
Yeah, no doubt. You will have that success. Anything else you want our listeners to know about figure skating in Detroit?
Just that we're here and we're changing lives. This is more than a skating program. It's about academic and leadership. The figure skating is the carrot, and once we get them, we plan on cultivating them and helping them become the women that they were meant to be.
Awesome. So congratulations, and admire the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, and I hope that our relationship with the foundation, we're just getting started.
I agree, and we're so grateful to the Children's Foundation.
It's our pleasure. So that was Lori Ward of Figure Skating in Detroit. And coming up next, we're going to hear from David Lochner. That's when Caring for Kids continues, right here on the great voice of the Great Lakes. News Talk 760 WJR.
Welcome back to Caring for Kids on WJR. Presented by the Children's Foundation. Once again, here's Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everybody. Larry Burns here, Caring for Kids, September edition. And in the studio now is David Lochner. David recently joined the Children's Foundation leadership team as our Chief Financial Officer, CFO, as they say. Prior to joining the foundation, David spent his career in banking, most recently as the president of East Michigan for Huntington Bank. David also served as the president of Michigan for First Merit Bank and the director of commercial banking for RBS Citizens Commercial Banking Group in Michigan. David holds a Master of Business Administration in Finance from Washington University in St. Louis and a Bachelor of Instrumental Music Education from Eastern Michigan University. David Lochner, welcome to Caring for Kids.
Thank you, Larry.
And welcome to the foundation.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're delighted that you're with us, and not only in the room, but more importantly, with the foundation. So, over 30 years of banking experience, and being a president, being a leader, how do you think that and those experiences have prepared you for your new role as the CFO of the Children's Foundation?
Well, I've been really blessed over all these years in my banking career to be in a situation where I never stopped learning. Most importantly, I've learned from and about people. I've worked with a wide range of very talented business people, both as clients and as colleagues. And I've learned through them best practices in business management and leadership and concepts around community engagement and community impact. But, I've also been a father for the last 36 years and a grandfather for the past 7. And this has taught me the importance of providing young people with kid-centric services that offer the very best support for their health and overall well-being.
So that's a lot.
Well,
You're prepared.
yeah, I'm ready to roll.
Yes, well, you are rolling. So tell our listeners that may be familiar with the Children's Foundation, since we are the sponsor of this program, and then we complement this program with Crane's Detroit Business and social media. So, but they may not be familiar with what a CFO, what a role of a CFO is in a foundation like ours, and so tell us a little bit about the importance of having someone like you in the position that you're in as the foundation continues to evolve.
Sure. This position has most of the traditional roles of a CFO, just the financial stewardship and oversight of the financial processes. And those are all important core activities of any organization, and in particularly important to a foundation and a nonprofit, I believe. I'm also charged with helping to look after a $125 million investment portfolio.
Yeah, that's no small
small thing. No,
Yeah.
but more importantly, the narrative of the foundation over the past 3 years has really included a strong change dynamic. Our mission, as many of our listeners will know, has expanded in new directions and geographies. And this has had or will have, I think, implications for most areas of our operation. And I'm here to be a strategic partner in support of our core functions. And specifically, that's things like grant making and fundraising and advocacy and our overall engagement with community partners. Ultimately, I'm here to help our team, our leadership, and our board continue to be successful as we grow the impact that we can all have on the well-being of children across the state.
Yeah, well, that's well said. And we're talking with David Lochner, who is the Children's Foundation CFO, Chief Financial Officer. And what I say to a lot of people is that we indeed are a nonprofit organization, but we're also a business. And so our credibility, our transparency, our relevance is all based not only on what we support, but how we operate. And so it's extremely important to have someone like you making sure that we are efficient, effective, that we're entrepreneurial, and so you explained that very well. So now that you've been in the position for a few months, have you seen, or how is the transition from banking to the nonprofit world? Any surprises, any things that you want to mention?
Well, first of all, I would like to quickly thank our very talented staff and our supportive board who have made it a very welcoming experience. And I've enjoyed developing new friendships, and they've all been very helpful with me making this transition. It is different. But not as different as you might think. As you mentioned, it is still a business. It is still about teamwork. It's still about core functions that need to propel the foundation forward in its mission. So a lot in common that way. The foundation has been on the move, and it wasn't going to slow down for me to catch up. So I've been running hard to ramp up and find some early opportunities to improve our process and effectiveness. And the change has been refreshing.
Yeah. So that's good to hear. And so what are some of the exciting things that are on the horizon or happening now in the foundation, particularly those things that you're involved in?
Well, just in the last 3 months that I've started with the foundation, we've conducted a full-day summit focused on pediatric behavioral health. We've planned and conducted 3 major new events, including helping Paul W. and his annual Paul W. Smith Golf Classic. And we were instrumental in last weekend's roast of Red Wings broadcaster Mickey Redmond for the benefit of the Jamie Daniels Foundation, another behavioral health care initiative of the foundation. We announced another exciting round of grants, which brings our 2019 total to almost $6 million. If that wasn't enough, we announced the evolution of our brand. So that was a very eventful 3 months.
The brand, the name, and so it all happened this summer. So we're looking forward to a great fall and even better 2020. And you're a big part of that effort, and we're delighted to have you on the team. And so thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Larry.
David Lochner, who is the Children's Foundation Chief Financial Officer. And coming up next, I'm going to introduce you to this month's Little Champion. I'm also going to provide an update on some foundation news. It's here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
It's Caring for Kids with Larry Burns.
Welcome back, everybody. It was a great show. It's always great to have all of our guests in the studio. But this portion of Caring for Kids is dedicated to highlighting our Little Champion. The Little Champion program honors children who have overcome major obstacles in their young lives and continue to tackle those challenges with a smile each and every day. This month's Little Champion is 9-year-old Manny from Waterford, Michigan. Manny was diagnosed with a bleeding disorder in 2017, but hasn't let that hold him back. Manny has maintained his positive spirit and enjoys participating in the Kids Kicking Cancer program, where he has made several new friends. Congratulations, Manny, this month's Little Champion. For more information on the Little Champion program and how you can nominate a child, just visit our childrensfoundation.org/champion. So, some foundation updates. Earlier this month, we hosted the inaugural Jamie Daniels Foundation Roast. That roast was of Mickey Redmond of Red Wing fame. It was a great night. 750 or so people participated. We had Hall of Fame NHL players there, Hall of Fame announcers. We had current Red Wings, former Red Wings. It was very special. And best of all, it raised money for the Jamie Daniels Foundation as we move forward with our effort to create the Jamie Daniels Recovery Center in the not-too-distant future. So thank you to our sponsors, in particular to Delta Dental, who has been the presenting sponsor, and look forward to next year when we roast Scotty Bowman of NHL fame. We're also gearing up for our next round of foundation grants. As you may know, we have 2 cycles of grants each year, one in the spring and now one in the fall. And so our next show, I'll be able to tell you about some of those as we move forward. As we continue to add to our partnerships, we have over 60 partners now. So after this next grant cycle, we'll have even more. I want to thank you for joining us here on Caring for Kids. The Children's Foundation is proud to sponsor this program, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. For more discussion about health and wellness for children and families, join us next time here on the great voice of the Great Lakes, News Talk 760 WJR.
Caring for Kids with Larry Burns on WJR has been presented by the Children's Foundation.